everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Garage Shop Insider. I'm Tim Packman. We appreciate all of you so much for tuning in, following on what's going on here at the Garage Shop. Always interesting things, a lot of interesting people that work here. And we are now going to talk to one of them from Long Island, New York, Jim Jubenville. He is the master mechanic here. So tell us about your background a little bit, what brought you to the Garage Shop.
Let's see. So I knew Aaron quite a few years ago. My son-in-law used to do painting and vinyl graphics for him. Okay. So I would come in and help every once in a while with David Chapman, and I'd help him out and talk with Aaron and just hang out. And life brought me in other directions and stuff. So then I seen a Facebook page was hiring some people. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's where it started. Just a Facebook page looking to hire somebody, and I came and talked to him, and it's been almost a little over 3 years now.
I was going to say, what was your mechanical background before?
Prior to that, I was crew chief in the Air Force on the C-130s for 10 years.
Thank you for your service. Yeah.
Thank you. And then just through the years, I was just worked at different mechanic shops, different hot rod shops, restoration, stuff like that through the years,
So when you come to work here and you see all the different projects going on, someday you must be like, what am I working on today?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what it is. You don't know. Yeah. It's definitely, it's a challenge every day, which is fun. There's always something different to do.
Right. What do you enjoy most? I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about working here at the Garage Shop? You stuck around for 3 years.
Yeah.
It says a lot.
It's a different thing every day. Yeah. There's, some of the stuff we do, the IROX cars, some of the older Cup cars. And then right now I'm working on a 1974 Lola.
Really?
We got that in and did a total restoration on it and put it all back together. So that's a different, something I've never done before. So it's a challenge. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I'd say if you can keep a C-130
yes.
in the air, then I think you can handle that project.
Right, yeah.
I mean that in a very complimentary way. Yeah. Not to diminish what you're doing here, but yeah. So you did, the background that you had and everything, and working on the different aspects. What's the common thing? Like mechanics are mechanics, but they're different for every different car that comes through the Garage Shop.
Yeah, it's just that it's taking it apart. It's taking it apart and putting it back together. It's all just little different challenges with each vehicle, but there's always it's all a common theme, of just taking the vehicles apart, and some have a little different aspects, which I've learned a lot of is a lot of the Cup stuff. Right. There's little unique things in order to put those cars back together, how to set the wheel hubs, different things like that. But it's definitely, I've learned that. Mm-hmm. But it's all mechanical stuff, work with your hands.
So you say when you take stuff apart, it means you got to put it back
right.
together. So your satisfaction when you see one of these projects, bring them in.
Oh yeah.
Take them down to nothing and bring them back up to working again. Then you see them out there and they're going fast and setting speed records and the other things they do here. Are the customers really happy with it?
Yeah.
How's that for you? I mean, working on a plane, C-130, I'm sure that it takes off and lands, and you're like, hey, mission
right.
accomplished.
Exactly, yeah.
With this, though, you're talking about going fast, staying on the land.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's satisfying, and it's a cool feeling when, when you do that work and you put it down, and it goes down the Salt Flats or El Mirage, and it breaks records. I was the crew chief for Aaron on the 281, mm-hmm. and so there was a lot of satisfaction, just, that of accomplishment, getting the car ready, and then we pull it off the trailer and break records, and it's a really satisfying feeling. It's kind of,
I always say it makes the beer taste better at the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
Not to assume that, you do, but you work at the Garage Shop.
That's right.
I know. You talk about going to Bonneville and El Mirage. So the first time you went to Bonneville, what was it like the first time you went, you saw it, and when you kind of stepped on the salt? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was a surreal moment. Yeah. It was really like I took it in, and it was just kind of puts goosebumps on you because growing up and watching on TV and the worldwide of sports, not to date myself, but those type of things,
agony of defeat,
and you see all that stuff, and then here you are, stepping out on it and the first time, and again, the first time when Aaron went down, there's that moment of just, here I am, and it was a really cool feeling to be there. And it still is every time. It's not like that moment faded away, because it seems like it's just that moment every single time, even when we went to El Mirage, and it's a really cool feeling.
Like, let's say, like, working racing, if you go to Daytona the first couple of times, like, and after a while it just becomes like, I shouldn't say Daytona, because every time I go there, but like a Richmond or something, not to take away. So the first time I went, I stepped out and I stepped on the salt, and I felt like I was stepping on the moon.
Right.
And I got a little emotional, because like you say, you grow up, you're watching Wide World of Sports and all that. Yeah. And I think Vance was close by, and he looked over, "Is you okay?" I go, "No, man, this is awesome." He's he's like, "Oh, geez." Like I said, "This is great. Thank you so much." But that's good that you have the appreciation for it.
Yeah.
What are your challenges when you're going out there? Like, you're dealing with the salt. You're not dealing with another car.
Right.
You're dealing with the mechanics, the driver, and the conditions of the salt, and getting that car down there as fast as possible. What's your biggest challenges there?
Is the changing of the salt, or the condition of the track each time, because the more people go down it tears it up. Right. And especially, like, one year we were there was a lot of big cars that had a lot of horsepower, and when the further they get down the track, they're really laying down the rubber, and they're tearing the track up. Right. So those are conditions that change immediately. And even the wind, and if we get some type of weather, or the sun, whatever it is, the track's always changing. It's not like it's consistent. Right. So you always try to, the best you can is get the first couple, get in line and be the first couple down the track, because you got the good conditions of the day. Because by the time the end of the day is there, it could be tore up, and
the car starts doing the end, swirly at the end there.
Yeah, so then that's where it's up to the driver to really be aware of what's happening.
One of your biggest joys about working here, being part of the garage shop, all the stuff you've done, you have a lot to compare there. What's one of your biggest joys being here?
Just working on the cars. That's my biggest thing. I've always enjoyed, no matter where I've worked, it's always just the joy of working on cars and working with my hands. Right. That's what I've always enjoyed doing the most. And like I said before, the challenge, just the different cars every day. There's always something different, that we do.
Speaking of, when a new project, let's call it a project, car comes in here, and I know you hear about it ahead of time. Like, here comes a IROC Camaro. All right, what do we need to do with that? Which basically you're saying, what I'm going to end up doing on that? Is that so? You kind of look forward to like what your part's going to be? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and then also, I work with Max also, so we both. We see what we're going to break it up into, because sometimes there's a lot going on in the car, so we'll share the if there's a lot to it, we'll share it, and we break it down to each other of what we're going to share, the aspect of our mechanical part of it. So that's usually we work together on that,
and so the teamwork on that. So again, when project's finished, excuse me, sorry about that. Let's use the Corvette as an example. You're involved with the Wayne's Corvette.
Yes.
We talked about earlier when it came in. Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful interior, seats.
Right.
And then they gutted it in a day and a half. And I couldn't walk out in the shop and look at it, because I love Corvettes, especially the older one.
Right.
But then, like you said, it's taken apart. Then they did all the work they did to it. And then it goes out there, and Wayne mats it, and he 208, all he did. So for you as a mechanic, being a part of that, how does that make you feel of the work you put into it?
Again, that's an awesome feeling, a big, huge accomplishment, and the satisfaction of giving the customer what he asked for, knowing that what we did when it came in, from, a beautiful driving car to something that's breaking land speed records and stuff, it's definitely satisfying knowing that, what we're giving the customer. And we strive to give 100% of our work. We don't slack or deviate from. It's always 100% safety is the biggest thing, and the car handles and proper. That when he gets behind that wheel, and I put the window net, we shut the door. That I know that I have a perfect feeling that he's gonna, we're giving him a perfect car to go down the track, I don't have any doubt like, oh, did I do something or what
late
forgot? Because we all work together as a team. Everybody's always double checking each other, especially when it comes to the track. And when we nut and bolt everything, it's always, and we kind of have a thing where we speak to it, like, okay, I've nut and bolted the rear. So, and I tell everybody. And then if Max or someone else is doing the front, we say it to each other.
Right.
And that's the teamwork that goes on. So we know, okay, it's been acknowledged that something has been forgotten, or someone says, did you check the oil, or, maybe the gear oil or something, so I'll go back. So everybody, there's always double checking of each other. One person's just not, responsible. They're responsible, but then we double check each other. It's that type of thing.
So
that's what makes it work. And that's what I enjoy too, the teamwork.
Let's talk about new experiences. You were part of the Australia adventure, let's say, short-lived. But so you didn't go out for the first part, but you went out for when you were actually going to go racing. Correct. What was it like to, first of all, be asked to do that, and then make the trip, your first trip to Australia?
It was a really cool feeling to know that, that I was asked to be part of that team, and so it was definitely nerve-wracking because it wasn't like we have months to do this.
Right.
It was like, hey, we're going to go to Australia. Okay, what do we need? Well, we don't know yet, but let's start getting stuff together. It's like, okay, well, what do you mean get stuff together? So we got to ship this thing, but it was definitely exciting.
Sure.
Leading up to all that and packaging it and getting it sent off, and then once we got there, it was really cool. It was a neat feeling, going there and stuff and experiencing it. The first half,
sure.
Now we got another half to go.
Tony,
again.
Were you part of the ones that wanted to go see a kangaroo so bad that Tony took you to the reserve? Was you part of that?
Yeah, okay. yeah. We're here. We want to see a kangaroo at least.
I got it. Yeah.
I wanted to try to kangaroo. Because I would always ask everybody. Yeah. It's like, where can I get kangaroo? Go eat it. And it's funny because you ask people, the locals or whatever, like, you don't really want to eat a kangaroo, and like it's this and that, and I'm like, well, I don't know, well, it's like alligator. Well, what's that?
Like chicken.
Yeah, exactly. So I would always ask everybody, and finally we went to a restaurant. It was called Prime, it was called Rare. Mm-hmm. That was in downtown Melbourne that Tony had gone to before, and they had kangaroo on the menu, and I was like, okay, so we all tried. It was a small little steak to come in. It was great. Okay. It tasted really good. It was really good meat. But everybody's like, oh, you don't want kangaroo and this, and I'm like, why not?
Why not? You're there. Sure.
Yeah. So, but it was really cool. And so we found a reserve, a little nature preserve, and walked around, and we got to see our kangaroo.
That's good. Married?
Yes.
Okay. How long?
38 years.
38 years. Her name?
Mandy.
So when you go home and say, oh, honey, by the way, I'm going to Australia for a while, what's the reaction from that? Just, because there is a home life involved.
Yes.
All the work that we do here.
So I was in the military for 10 years. So I was a flying crew chief, so I was gone a lot. Mm-hmm. So she was used to that, and we had a really good system worked out where when I would be gone, she would go and visit when she would take the kids. Mm-hmm. So we made that work. But now, many years later, out of it's like, oh, you're going away for how long? We're done with that.
Wait, not even where?
Exactly.
Just how long?
Right. Yeah. So it was a little bit of a challenge.
Right.
We worked through it,
sure.
And it works out. We do our things to make it
right.
work and stuff, and we have a good relationship and stuff. So one thing that we did do, because when I was in the service, I would write letters,
right.
Everywhere I go, and she would write, and so back and forth. But now there's not really, have time to send a letter.
Right.
So what we did is I said, we got a journal each.
Okay.
So we started writing. So every day I was going to, instead of writing a letter, I wrote a journal page, day mm-hmm. 1, day 2
sure.
of our, to each other.
Right.
So then, so we decided to do that for this year. Would be cool to do something different.
Yeah.
So we started writing to each other, but we're not going to read it until the end of the year, until the race season's over. So she hasn't seen my book, and I haven't
right.
seen hers yet. So, and that's what we're going to do.
That's awesome.
So at the
I
end of
never
the
heard of
year,
it. That's great.
we'll sit and read each other's letters that we wrote for the year of the travels and stuff like that.
That's
Something
amazing.
different. Yeah,
That's
just
good. And it's all good stuff. There's nothing bad in that.
Yeah, no.
You made me mad when
no.
the other day when you.
It's definitely it's a little rated R.
Sure.
It just be for each other, so it wouldn't be something I'd publish.
No, don't. That's what's good. I think that's awesome. Look at that.
But yeah, that's how
there
we
you
make.
Go. Look at this, a romantic mechanic. What do you go? Like it.
And that's how we make it work.
Good.
Have our relationship and stuff, and when I travel, because a couple of years ago I traveled quite a bit, and that was but we make it work.
Good. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing what you do here and the garage shop and your adventures. And I'm glad you got to eat a little bit of kangaroo when you're over.
That's right. Yeah. And hopefully when we go back again, I'll try some more kangaroo.
Dude, what do you put on it? Steak sauce?
No.
Nothing?
No,
Salt
I didn't
pepper?
put anything. It was good. No.
Just don't put ketchup.
No ketchup. No.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. This is Jim Jubenville from Long Island, a veteran of our United States Air Force and the master mechanic here at the garage shop. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, hit the like, subscribe, tell everybody about it, and send in your questions. We'll be glad to answer them. Thank you very much.